Friedrich Merz is on track to be the next chancellor. He hopes to form a government quickly, but he has said there will be no deal with the likely second-placed AfD, the Alternative for Germany. What does happen now?
Well, it's a long-standing agreement to exclude extremist parties from the process of government formation. So Merz will have to deal with one or possibly two of the democratic parties. That would be the Social Democrats. I think that's his first choice. It's not quite clear yet if they can form a majority coalition, so they might need a third partner, and that would probably be the Greens. All this will take roughly 2 months of negotiations, and hopefully by Easter we might have a new government.
And tell us about Merz. What's his leadership style and how might he deal with a US president who's more aligned with Russia?
It's quite difficult to say what his leadership style would be because he never had executive office. So he's a lawyer, a lobbyist, basically, who took a break from politics and then returned to parliament, but he has never been a minister or anything like that. So that's one worry, that he lacks experience. In terms of ideology, he's an Atlanticist, so he's quite close to the United States, but he has recently voiced concerns over the direction the United States are taking, and so I'm quite sure that this will be hard work to form some sort of agreement with the United States for him.
And the far-right Alternative for Germany, it was supported by the Trump administration. It has secured its highest ever showing since World War II, as we said. That's according to the exit polls. They are up against this firewall, though. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. The idea is that all the democratic parties in Germany have agreed since the 1950s that they don't want any party which is aligned to Nazi ideology or radical right ideas anywhere close to the levers of power. And that's not such an unusual agreement. Very much the same rule is in place in France, in Belgium. It's a European thing, or at least a thing that applies in many European countries. But of course, it's quite difficult to form a coalition around a party that has now secured 20% of the vote. That makes it much more difficult than it was in the past to stick with this firewall rule.
And so how might the AfD influence policy moving forward?
Yeah, they already do. For the last 1.5 years, basically, everyone in German politics has talked about immigration. They really managed to push that issue on the agenda. And even the outgoing government, which started out as a so-called progressive coalition, has made immigration into Germany more difficult for refugees and asylum seekers. So their influence will probably be indirect insofar as they push the other parties towards a more stricter position on immigration.
Professor Arzheimer, this is being seen as the most consequential election in a generation for Germany and the country's role in the European Union. Can you explain to us why this is?
Oh, as you know, the situation in Europe is quite difficult with land war going on in Europe, with the United States turning away from Europe and perhaps even turning away from liberal democracy. So Europe needs to get its act together, and Germany, as one of the biggest players in the European Union, needs to play a role in this process of becoming more independent of the United States and making Europe secure again. So the outcome of this election is quite important both for Germany and for Europe.
And what do you think the biggest challenges will be straight up for Germany's new government when it is formed?
Well, the biggest challenge probably is getting the economy back on track. Germany has been in a recession for 3 years running now. It's the number one worry for voters, how Germany can get back on a path to growth. And so the new government needs to agree on policies that are focused on the one hand on growth, but on the other hand on meeting the climate obligations that Germany and the European Union are under. So that is one big challenge. On the other hand, the campaign has been very intense, very polarized. So it's not immediately clear how 2 or 3 parties that challenged each other through the campaign and who represent positions which are quite far apart can come to an agreement.